What was the most hurtful thing that anyone has ever said to you? After my dad passed away, I was going through his belongings. One of his journal entries was simply, "I am disappointed in my son." It was written 8 years before he passed away. No context. Nothing has been more hurtful since or before. Obligatory edit, I posted this and went to sleep. Explosion. This is my only post that has been upvoted more than 10 times, and I have been here 6 years. Thanks for the gold. Look at this shiny piece of metal, father. Are you still disappointed? Also, I was named in the diary. Most stuff people write in a journal is just rubbish that they are feeling at that time. Maybe you did something to piss him off that day, and he was over it the very next. I'm sure it did hurt to read that, but try not to hold on to it. Everyone has those days where everyone is a disappointment to them. I'm sure there were days that he was a disappointment to you as well, but you got over it and let it go. Probably the same for him. I feel like we're both settling. Girlfriend of 3 years. I was head over heels in love at the time. Edit. Thanks for all the nice words, y'all. I'm doing much better now. I'll find my dream girl someday. To all y'all going through something similar, you're beautiful. Don't let someone who doesn't deserve it ruin you. That would have to be my father. Back in high school, I went to my sophomore school dance. However, nobody would dance with me nor talk to me, so I went home early and started to cry. My dad gave me a few words of comfort, and it became the silver lining to my crappy day. A few months later, I was invited to a birthday party from my friend from middle school. I needed a ride, and I asked my father to drop me off. I interrupted him watching his favorite program on television, and he said, "Why should I go? You're just going to go back home and cry again." I never trusted him with anything personal after that. I'm self-conscious and aware that I'm not super pretty. I have tougher skin now, but I remember being in school, lining up outside the classroom in A block for biology, and there are loads of people walking past. This nasty little prick looks at me and just stops dead in his tracks. He says, "Wow, you're ugly," and continues walking and left everybody else just staring at me. I've such a fear of public humiliation. A lot of shit happened in school, but I can remember that like it was yesterday. Who are you? Said by my grandmother a few months before she died. I was her first grandchild, and she was incredibly proud of me, even still remembering me when she had forgotten who grandfather was. I was the second to last person she forgot, just before my mother. It was what made me realize that she wasn't my grandmother anymore, just my grandmother's slowly dying body. Heard a lot. Edit. Had a lot of replies from people going through the same thing now, and while I wish I could offer you words of encouragement and tell you it'll get better, I can't. Just make sure you say goodbye to people while you still can. Sister is the pretty one, /you/mizzlefo shizzle is the smart one. I think that messed both my sister and I up really badly. She is really smart as well as pretty, but is desperate to have men take her seriously. This with the fact she's almost done with PT school. And I always felt like I was hideous, and even though I was happy to be smart, trust me when I say it didn't help with my insecurity. A person who has good thoughts cannot ever be ugly. If you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely. Roald Dahl, Far Jr. Upon telling my mother what a great guy I had met, how he had a great career, i.e., he is a such and such, her response was, "And you are nothing." I had just landed my first full-time gig in the field I wanted to work, and was mighty proud of this achievement, although I didn't have a university degree yet, like he had. 16 years ago, and I can still hear it. Loud and clear. Edit. My highest rated comment is about my mother degrading me. I can make a business out of this. This happened just this Christmas. My dad did probably the most thoughtful thing he's ever done for me, and got both my mom and I gift certificates for a girls' day at a spa. We had all just gone on vacation, and it was becoming painfully clear how strained the relationship is between my mom and I, so he was trying to help bring us together. I was excited, but when I turned to my mom to see her reaction, she looked semi-disgusted and replied to the gift with, "Can I trade it in for a haircut?" Her reasoning was that she doesn't like being touched, but it was set up so you had a choice between a massage or something less invasive. It really changed my outlook on things between she and I. Your beard is weak. I was 4 months into my grow and went on holiday to the States and sea. We were in a mall, and this hugely bearded dude walked past me and said this. It totally crushed me as I was happy with how it was coming on, and we all have to start somewhere. Okay, so maybe not the most hurtful in the thread, but it cut deep with me. My dad told me I was getting kinned off fat. It hurt, but I needed to hear it. I was 18, 6 feet 0 inches, and 220 pounds. All I did all day was pound sodas back to back, graze on boxes of fudge rounds, Nutri-Grain, and oatmeal cream pies, and play City of Villains. 2 p.m. when I woke up to 6 a.m. every day. I don't game anymore. I lift 6 days a week. I have all of the social and career success that seemed impossible when I was a useless blob. More parents need to tell their kids the truth instead of telling them how perfect they are. There'd be a lot less entitled, lazy slobs around. When I was in 4th grade, it was the day that we all got our pictures back from picture day. 2 of the popular girls in my class were looking at the class picture. Then one said to the other, "Who do you think the ugliest guy in the class is?" The other girl pointed to my picture. They both giggled and laughed. I was standing right behind them. One of my coworkers is one of my best friends, and during a particularly busy time at work, we're talking upwards of 18 to 20-hour days. He turned to me and said, "Seriously, I cannot stand you." I know it was because we had spent every waking hour for the past 4 weeks around each other, but damn, that stung. We're fine now. You will never amount to anything, by a girl who I dated from when I was 17 to 22. She left me for a guy I was rivals with in high school because he had a college education. I graduated college 4 years later and am now working as a successful strategy consultant. She tried to get back in touch when she heard about me. I told her the same thing she had told me when we broke up. "Courtney, you will never amount to anything." One time I was waiting in line at Taco John's, and a group of kids saw me come up and yell, "Big order coming up." I was super overweight at the time, and I just looked at them, then walked out. On the plus side, I used that in every other moment when people were mean to me as motivation for my weight loss. Down 136 and only 14 more to go to goal. Smiley face. "Why do you keep calling and texting me when you aren't really a part of my life?" Said to me by my girlfriend at the time. We had been together for almost a year. It was a long-distance relationship, but we saw each other 2 to 3 weekends a month and talked daily a week or so later. I went for a job interview in the city she lived in and stayed at her place. I had been applying for jobs for about 5 months nonstop so that I wasn't a 7-hour drive away. She broke up with me that weekend and told me I shouldn't bother switching jobs or moving to be closer to her. I was offered the job and I took it because it was a great job and fuck you, don't tell me what to do. It's not really what was said to me, but my ex and her friend came to a restaurant I worked at and sat in my section. The ex was trying to get back with me, but it pissed me off that they decided to sit in my section and take up my time. They made a joke and started laughing, which really made me mad, so I turned to her friend and said, "Look at your face, who would ever date you?" And she immediately started crying. It made me feel terrible, so I still remember it as the worst thing I've ever said to someone. Not sure why you decided to destroy a girl who was only getting something to eat with her friend. Damn, dude. At school, someone asked another girl if they could help me out with an English project. The girl replied, "I'm not talking to that," meaning me. God, I don't want anything to do with it. I was 13, and I've never forgotten about it. I'm now 40 years old. I think about it a few times a year. She wasn't saying it in front of a crowd for the kudos of being mean. She just said it as if it was a fact. First day of high school, someone behind my back told their friend that I have weird ears. I have no idea what that actually means, but it wrecked my self-esteem. It was something so stupid, and a lot of people have said way more offensive things to me, but that's what sticks with me. Edit. It's worth mentioning I'll have small ears if anything, but I think more than that I just have a larger head. It doesn't bother me, my ears are pretty damn normal. For some reason the comment just sticks with me. Most stuff people write in a journal is just rubbish that they are feeling at that time. Maybe you did something to piss him off that day, and he was over it the very next. I'm sure it did hurt to read that, but try not to hold on to it. Everyone has those days where everyone is a disappointment to them. I'm sure there were days that he was a disappointment to you as well, but you got over it and let it go. Probably the same for him. Whenever someone cuts in front of me in a queue, I always say there is a line, and they always act surprised as if they didn't notice. I then follow up with, "Now that you know there is a line, why are you still standing in front of me?" They always need that extra prod. Pricks. I've learned to embrace confrontation in my middle age. Younger me would have been too self-conscious to make a scene. Some aspects of growing older are pretty good. We can't do this in Britain. We just heavily argue with them in our heads, then go home and complain about it to our loved ones. Surprised this is so far down here. Same one for me. I said something, waited for an answer. She asked me what I said. I repeated it. She paused and turned her back on me. Many years later, I had a fortune cookie that said, "When in doubt, be kind." Really hit me that what I'd been taught growing up, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, was actually more hurtful, and I wondered how many times my silence had hurt someone. I always thought it better to not say anything than to lie, but after reading that I took it as a challenge to find a kind thing to say, and I do think that's helped me in life. Possibly the only fortune I've ever gotten that really did change my life. This is the one that really hits home for me. I had a friend a while back who I really enjoyed talking to. We were really cool, and I really enjoyed talking with her. Then a week after we met, after sending each other a cumulative of 1,800 plus messages, she just stops. I get nothing, just one final cryptic response. Apparently, she had found a boyfriend and figured it wasn't worth it to even talk to me. There was an entire clique that devoted the first few weeks of 7th grade to build up my social life, and then destroy it in one quick blow. I thought I had found friendship and love, but they were truly a delusion. Liz and her cronies let me sit with their group, though I was never included in anything outside of school, and the boys' clique, headed by Jesse, was eager to join in on the fun. So Jesse and I started dating, or rather school dating, holding hands in English, trying to kiss him, only for him to playfully pull away, connecting for the brief seconds we encountered in the lunch line, and heartfelt confessions about why we chose the names we did in French class. I wrote a long, involved love letter to him, and ran it past Nikki H. in chorus class, only for her to reveal that she was the one dating and having sex with Jesse. Once the game was up, I was abandoned. Through the filter of hindsight and maturity, I look back at every action I'd taken that year, and how my duplicitous friends were really just humoring a social retard. I got the Who Are You Anyway? Award after my high school's production of Camelot, because no one could remember who I was or what I was doing in the play. The awards were supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek thing where everyone got something pointing out a minor flaw or mistake, but they actually couldn't remember my name when it came time to give it to me. I was wearing the most colorful outfit. There was a scene where I was one of 2 people on stage, and I spent most of my time backstage hanging out with and juggling for the other actors. A very similar thing happened to me in high school. I was either going to or coming from the bus area, and this girl I'd never met and never did anything to looked at me once and proclaimed to all her friends, "Damn, she's ugly." Doesn't hurt anymore, but I do sometimes wonder what was going on in her life that she needed such a distraction and or boost. We were all kids and had no clue what we were doing. I still feel that way, but I have a feeling that she was dealing with some difficulties she was far too young to be experiencing. I hope things are a little better for her now, and good for you for developing your sense of humor. Definitely healthy coping. I kind of just withdrew from an early age, still working on overcoming that completely. That's awful. If it makes you feel any better, my mom went a little crazy after my dad died, too. They'd been married about 40 years, and he had been her caretaker for 4 before his sudden death. So I went to a psychologist by myself in order to deal with her sudden change of personality. It helped. My grandfather was an amazing man. He survived World War II, made an enormous impact on the college students he taught, was athletic, intelligent, artistic, and taught me a great deal about what it means to be a good man. Watching him become weak, lose his intellect, struggle to communicate in even basic ways, and eventually fall into silence, trapped in his mortal shell, was agonizing. He did nearly as much to raise me as my parents did. I hated watching him go like that, losing everything that made him who he was. I understand your pain. Yeah, I will never forget, but you will get used to it. My wife has a fraternal twin sister, so not identical, they don't look alike. The first time I met her mother, at dinner she pointed to my future wife's twin sister and said, "She's the pretty one." I was too dumbstruck to respond. Later, my future wife told me she's heard that her whole life. It still makes my blood boil, especially since my wife, 8 years and 2 kids later, is still one of the most beautiful women I have ever laid eyes on. You don't have to like or love your parents. Edit. Well, had a long night at the office and my dad's wife brought in dinner. I work with my dad and brother. I noticed that my inbox was out of control and read this comment because of it. It was slightly awkward out of context, just out loud reading, "You don't have to love your parents," to your dad, who is in most regards awesome. Ugh, I'm sorry. I'm a woman too, and my mother doesn't like me. It took so long to realize that and admit it to myself. My girlfriends complain about their moms calling them too much and being too involved in their lives, and I would love to have that problem. Last year I almost died. Random freak blood sugar thing. MBD now, and my mother couldn't be bothered to drive 30 minutes to see me in ICU. She told my father, "Oh, she doesn't want to see me." So now I know even if I'm dying, my mother can't be bothered. But I guess there are a lot of girls here who would love for their moms to take a step back. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.